Hello, this is Brad Wild, and we are at a little airport south of Hartford, Connecticut. This is KSNC, or Kilo Sierra November Charlie. And before you is the default X-Plane King Air, the C90. And I'm going to fly it for the first time. And not only that, but in instrument conditions. I have the Coronado version, which is a little bit different because it's a different model. It's the B200, so it's a little bit bigger, but I am impressed that this model at least has the Garmin 530. The Coronado version has two 430s, which I just think is ridiculous for an airplane that you would pay this much for. Anyway, let's get started by taking a look at our map. We're going to fly here from Chester north to Windsor Locks. This is my approach chart for runway 33. We have winds out of the northwest, so we're going to be landing in that direction. Just note a couple of things: our frequency 108.55 and our target altitude of 2,500 feet. And we're going to fly outbound on the Hartford VOR radial 25 to pick up our intercept point localizer called Homey. But I'm just flying VOR, and then I'll switch over to approach and an ILS. So, climbing in the airplane cold and dark, a couple of things that we want to do to get started. I'm going to hide this right now, but always start, of course, with the battery and check fuel supply. Looks good. And turn on our beacon. Check that. Our condition lever is in the fuel cutoff position. Our prop levers are all the way back. We've got idle for our throttles, so we're just going to leave everything there. So the way you get this started is you simply click the ignition and engine start, and you can see it start to rotate. And when the turbine gets up to 15, you can go ahead and move this lever to low idle, our condition lever. And you can hear it coming up. And finally, condition lever all the way up to high idle. And we can move our prop lever to high RPM. You can hear the pitch change. And once the engine has stabilized, I find it stabilizes about 71. I'm going to go ahead and turn on our generator and start engine number 2, our left engine. Again, I'm watching the turbine here. Applying fuel. Takes a while, doesn't it? Guess it's kind of authentic that way. And finally, high idle and high RPM. Coronado, you can push these up at the same time. And once it stabilizes, 71%, generator on, and then we want to turn on our inverter. And then you turn off your switches here, clear our warnings, and now avionics on. And one thing that I couldn't find, that's how to turn on the EHSI and the EADI, and that's done here. By the way, this is the very inconveniently located autopilot. Turn on our flight director. Okay, let's set our altitude to 2,500. That's our target altitude. And then pop up our Garmin, and let's just check. I'm not sure where I have my map. All right. So we want to put in 108 in standby, 108.55, but our VOR is 114.9. So let's put in 114.9. And then 108.55. And that is our localizer frequency. I just want to have it staged. Let me just double check here, make sure those frequencies are correct. 114.9 and 108. And you can see that VOR here. Our flight plan should show BDL. So K, B, sorry, I'll spare you. That's all we need to dial in here. I'm going to delete this one. Yes. All right. And we are ready to taxi. Just turn on a couple of lights here. Taxi light. Turn on our nav light. Drop a notch of flaps. I didn't hear anything. Want to make sure. Yep, they're down. Release our brake. And we're going to be taking off to the north. This thing is idling very fast and taxiing a little bit too fast for comfort. I probably shouldn't have moved those condition levers up so soon. This is a very short runway, by the way. One thing I probably should do is make sure I've got lights on. Okay, so I have dialed in my VOR, so the needle is now pointing towards that Hartford VOR, and we've got we're about 15 miles out, And landing lights on, taxi light can go off, I suppose. And strobe is on. So we're ready for takeoff. Alright, red line that prop. Rotate, gear up, and I think we can put our flaps up. I'm not getting full torque. I'm not sure what the issue is with that. Let's go with our autopilot. Altitude select, navigation on. Prop sync on. Yeah, I'm not sure why my torque is so low. Bleeds are on. Oh, everything is to the firewall too. Okay, it's a bit of a mystery. So we're leveling off at 2,500 feet. We are 13 miles out. We are coming up on our VOR, so I just want to prepare myself to fly outbound on the 25 radial. So I'll have to dial that in. As soon as I see that needle, the 2 needle point to from position, and I'll try to anticipate that. So turning it now. So by the time the airplane responds, we should be headed in the right direction. And that's now 9.9 miles between the VOR and the interception of that localizer. And it just flipped. The airplane turns. Not a bad looking airplane. So still at 2,500 feet, cruising along about 180. Ground speed is 174. So what I will do as I get closer is I will flip my frequency over to the localizer, and then on my AP I will click approach, and hopefully it will capture both the localizer and the glide slope. Just leave my landing lights on. haven't really looked around here. It's not as nicely styled as the Coronado, of course, but we'll take a ride in that next. So 5 miles to go. So the airport is here. Runway is 33. So we'll be making a left turn. Wanted to see if there was a setting for an ILS approach. I don't see one. Alright, I don't want to overshoot it, so I want to go ahead and prepare for that approach. So I'll flip my frequency, click approach. I'm going to dial in the runway heading. Just as a reference, it was 328 if I remember from my map or chart. So localizer is now coming across. We're 12 miles out from the runway, or at least from the antenna, and we are in our turn now. It is gusty today. And you can see our glide slope diamond is still indicating that we are below it. So we'll be flying straight and level until we intercept it. Make sure we're on approach. Yes, approach. It's armed. The glide slope is armed. And we could start slowing down. So let's see what happens here. There's our glide slope, and we begin our descent. It's working nicely. Want to watch our speed. So we've got our needles centered. And we can go ahead and extend our gear. That'll slow us down. one notch of flaps. Pick up some speed here. I just want to be able to maintain the glide slope. So 4 miles out. Start looking for that runway. Visibility is about 2 miles, I believe. Final notch of flaps. Just keeping an eye on our needles. Watching my power here. I'm not sure what our VROUGH speed should be, but alright, there's our runway. 500. Come back on our torque. So, full flaps, gear down. Our PAPI lights are showing to red to white. Alright, I'm gonna kill the AP. So different than a piston airplane in that you just drive this thing right down to the ground. Coming back on the power. See if we got reverse in this thing. Alright, that wasn't too bad. So let's do the same thing in the Coronado. Again, it's a different airplane, but different model, I should say. Get our flaps up here. Clean up the airplane. And we'll just stop here. So, thanks for joining me as I did my inaugural flight in the X-Plane default King Air.